Testing 1 2 3 4. Testing 1 2 3 4. Hello, beautiful people in my phone. Welcome to Car Conversations, where we talk all things faith, freedom, and football. It has taken me a minute. It has taken me a minute to process and really want to put the appropriate language to this past week of football, particularly for my squad. Let me just say welcome. Welcome first. Let me welcome you. It's Thanksgiving break. I pray that you are doing well and enjoying all of the many things in your life that you are grateful for, the people that you are grateful for in your life. It has already been that for me, beginning with family first, being able to spend time with them. So I'm immensely grateful. And it's only Monday. So here's to a great week, right? A great week of family, food, and of course, our faith and football. So let me just jump right in. There has been so much dialogue that has been happening since Saturday night, late Saturday night, when we had a full, just complete and total beatdown that we took my squad, the University of Alabama, in Norman, where it seemed as if we just were not prepared to play. It seemed as if we came into the game sluggish. We came into the game with no new plan, as far as, how we would approach, this particular team. We came into the game as if, we were still playing LSU, still playing Mercer, and we could just do the same old, quarterback runs that were successful against other teams, and that is not so with Brent Venables and his defense that he's running at Oklahoma. He is a defensive guru. So I will just first of all want to give props to Brent Venables and his squad for the way that they played and the way that they showed up, the way they prepared. Clearly, having a bye, they prepared extremely well. But not only did they prepare well, his players executed well. And we can say it's because they had the bye that they came in. They were fresh, they were hungry, coming in a 5-5 team. They had nothing to lose. And all of that may very well be true. Um, but that on the flip side is no excuse for us to have come in, our team to have come in overlooking Oklahoma, overlooking that every time we step on a field, especially in an away game, the opponent is going to bring their A game to play the script A. And it happened when they beat us. We saw how everybody stormed the field because that's what they live for. Now, I mean, I'll say this after 3 losses, and I don't know when the last time we've had 3 losses. I mean, it had to have been 17 years ago. It had to have been 17 years ago. Maybe Coach Saban's first year, we had multiple losses, more than 2 losses. It's been that long ago, right? But now it's becoming quite too common that schools are rushing the field and beat after they beat us to, they're probably going to stop rushing the field, if they beat our team. And it's a sad day. That's a sad day. But we just didn't execute. We didn't look prepared. We didn't play like we were ready and eager to win and that we had something to play for. There looked like there was a sense of entitlement, on the field as far as just the lackluster, way in which the guys were tackling, blocking, as well as just missing straight out catches. right? They were dropping balls left and right. And that's not indicative of a team that's ready to play. So it was very disappointing. That was by far the most embarrassing loss and the most disappointing loss that I've seen or experienced, with Alabama football in a very long time. I mean, a very, very long time. So, yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. I took a few notes, and like I said, I had to kind of, get my mind right before I got in front of a mic because I do want to be responsible, of course, with the mic. And I wanted to not just speak from pure emotion, but actually just, having to sit and just think about, and look at, what actually happened on the field and what has happened on the field with this particular team, this squad all season long. They have the highs of the highs and the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. They perform really, really well at a very high level, playing as if, they could be potentially the number one team in the country at times, and then, all of a sudden it's just like the next week or 2 weeks later, they have forgotten all of that. And, now they're out there like they're just an average team. And in some ways, playing in a below average level, I would say, and I'm not saying that my team is below average. Let me be clear. But what I am saying is that we've watched the inconsistencies the entire season. We've watched it for a while. And at some point, we're going to have to identify, we're going to have to pinpoint what the problem is as to why we can't perform more consistently when it's time to perform. And I mean, I attribute that to practice. Now, I'm not in practice. I've said that before. I'm not on the practice team. I'm not at the at the practice facility. I'm not out there at all. But what I know is that practice makes permanent. Practice makes permanent. I learned that in high school a long, long time ago. Practice makes permanent. The way you practice it is the way that you are going to perform it when it comes time to perform. So if you practice haphazardly, if you practice half-heartedly, if you practice not being determined to get it right, then what happens on the field? When the lights are on and it's time to play, it's going to show up how you practiced. It's going to show up how you have practiced. And I listened to Coach KDB post game. I listened to him even today, say that he felt that they had an extremely good week of practice. And and maybe they did, okay? Maybe they did. But something else is happening. If they're practicing extremely well, Coach KDB, this is just a thought. Something else must be happening. Something's not translating, from the practice, facility and the practice field to game time. So I am just not certain that of course, that we're getting the full story as we should. And who are we? We're just outsiders looking in, right? We're just lovers of the game. And so only they know what's happening inside of that particular locker room. But I think some changes absolutely are long overdue with this team, with the coaching staff, as far as implementing different things, new players, new plans. I mean, what here is my thought process about watching that particular game. We saw Jay Millie during doing a ton of quarterback runs. If it was a read option, he was keeping it most of the time. Should he have, read it differently and passed the ball on to someone else, and given it, fed that running back? Probably. Probably 1000%. He probably should have. And that's not what happened. We saw countless passes to Ryan Williams. Um, Toward the end of the game, we saw the tight end, get a couple of Cuevas get a couple of passes thrown his way. But where was Kendrick Law? Where was Odom? Where was Emmanuel Henderson? Jeremy, what's Jeremy's last name? It's escaping me right now. He caught a big pass. Absolutely, he did. Um, but I just did not see the ball distribution. And where, for the life of us, y'all, where were the running backs? Where was Jam Miller? Where was Justice Haynes? I mean, when Jam got the ball, he had a couple of nice runs, but then we would abandon the run, to the running backs, and we would go back to Jay Millie running the ball. And I'm just like, what? There, it just made no sense to me. The plan that was happening, or the lack thereof, that was evidence on the field, y'all. And I don't know. I feel like we've seen this before. This is not new. And clearly it wasn't. It wasn't. And that's the part that I'm struggling with. Why is it why hasn't there been any level of consistency? Why hasn't there been any level of consistency? So here's what I know. We lost Deontay Lawson. That was a huge blow. And that was what? First quarter, start of the second, maybe it was early when we lost Deontay Lawson. He is the quarterback of the defense, right? So Justin Jefferson's up. That was a huge blow. So now we have communication happening, that's different on the field with the defense. Why were we not, or were we not? I just listened to, who did I listen to? I listened to Jahad Campbell, his post game presser. And he talked about the fact that they knew the OU was going to run the way they ran. He knew that. They knew that. The defense knew that. So my question then is why? What happened? Where was the breakdown that they were not tackling the way they needed to tackle? They weren't filling the gaps. They weren't doing what they needed to do. And he said it was about execution. So he owned that. He owned the fact that they did not execute. But it appeared as if there was no real plan in place. I don't know. It seemed like it was Vandy 2.0. It seemed like it was Vandy 2.0. So it was quite disappointing. Um, on the offensive side of the ball, again, and we've seen this a couple of games this particular season. We saw it last year as well, and last season. I'm not understanding what's happening with clock management when we get to the line of scrimmage. I understand Jay Millie changing the play at the line of scrimmage. I understand that you see what you need to see and you need to change the play. But if you're not aware of how much time you have to do that, something else needs to happen. You need to speed it up, or you just need to wing it when you snap that ball. Y'all, I don't know. It just seemed like there were a couple of timeouts that had to be burned, or we got the delay of game because of poor clock management. There just did not seem to be an urgency for anything. For anything. And that's disturbing, y'all. That's what was disturbing to me. So when I looked at today, when I looked at Nick Sheridan and his presser, looked at Coach KDB and his presser. As we turn the page to the Iron Bowl, as this is rivalry week, Iron Bowl week. I don't know that these people understand. I don't know that these coaches understand the magnitude that is the Iron Bowl. I need to get more of a sense of that they understand what's happening and what this game means. They understand what the losses mean, and I'm not saying they don't. They're coaches, absolutely. They understand, and they feel horribly about the loss as well. But they're new to the SEC. They're new to Alabama. Um, Nick Sheridan, when he took the podium today, I mean, I don't know, he just looked like he was completely just um, scared. And I know our fan base can be a very troublesome fan base, when we're not winning. So I understand that, but I don't know. I don't like even going into the Iron Bowl like this. Auburn, on the other hand, is coming off a 4 overtime win. Big win for them to knock off Texas A&M. They're trending in the right direction at the right time. I also saw some bulletin board material about one of their receivers or one of their DBs talking about Ryan Williams and not being impressed at all with Ryan Williams. So thank you for that bulletin board material. Because at this point, I think we need a little motivation in the locker room. So we'll see what happens with that matchup. Um, but Auburn's going to come in kind of riding high. Auburn's going to come in, thinking they can take us down like three other teams that have taken us down this year. And make no mistake about it, Hugh Freeze knows how to beat Alabama because he's beat us twice when he was at Ole Miss. And they almost beat us last year had it not been for the fourth and the Millie, the grave digger. So this is a huge week. I hope that our guys realize what's at stake. It's senior night. It's the last game. This will be the last Iron Bowl for many of them. I hope they are up for the challenge. I hope that the 24-hour rule has gone into play and they are ready to practice and ready to prepare the way they need to prepare for Auburn, because it is not going to be easy. It is never really easy. It hasn't been easy. Let me say that. It hasn't been easy in a very long time for an Iron Bowl game for Alabama. It hasn't. They have been highly competitive in their play. We'll just see. We'll just see. And so what happens regarding the CFP? We'll see where we end up landing tomorrow night with the rankings there. But the AP had us at 13. The AP had us at 13, still like on the outside and potentially looking in. I don't even want to think about the CFP right now. I really just don't. I don't hope our players are not. I did listen to Tyler Booker today when he was on a podcast. He was on the Next Round podcast. Shout out to them. Talking about just kind of where their mindset was and how much pressure, which contributed to the fact that they were not, able to execute, or maybe they were just sensing the pressure and looking too far ahead as far as, well, what happens in the CFP, and if we get there, rather than being where they are, right, being where your feet are, being present where your feet are, and just taking it, play by play. And they got too far ahead, and you know, um, yeah, there was that quote. I have Feinbaum on the television, and there was a quote from the Auburn defensive player that said Ryan Williams he's no big thing. He's no big deal. He's not a big time player. They're just making it good for us this week. They are. We need something. But I don't want to think about the CFP. I hope the players aren't thinking about it. We need to win. We need to win, and we need to focus on getting better. Shout out to UGA for making the the SEC championship game. With our loss, with Ole Miss's loss, with Texas A&M's loss, to Auburn. They secured their spot in the SEC championship game. So they will face either Texas A&M or Texas, depending upon the winner of that rivalry game. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be a really interesting game in College Station. College Game Day will be there for that. I'm assuming that's a night kickoff. It needs to be. If it's not, no, I think it is, because we have a 3:30 for the Iron Bowl, and so I think that Texas A&M matchup is a night game. That's going to be huge. Can Texas A&M knock off Texas? I believe they can. I believe they can. Will they? Now that's a different story. Because I think Texas is vulnerable. They're a good squad, but I think they're vulnerable. And I just saw where Ewers had an MRI yesterday on the ankle he tweaked in that Kentucky game. So he may not be 100%, or it may be Archie Manning now. Archie Manning is a Manning, so he can ball. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that particular game. So I'm sure ESPN and all of the folks involved want to see a rematch of Texas and Georgia in the um, in the SEC, and then potentially a third match, within the college football playoffs. That would be interesting. I'll say this about the officiating, because that illegal touching call, that they had against us in our game. There was a call in the end of the Auburn game. We saw it in the Texas game where they were throwing things on the field a few weeks back. The officiating has been absolutely abysmal this particular season. Um, but of course, we know that that's part of the game, and so we can't allow ourselves to be in a position to ever be that close in a game. Any of the teams, not just my squad, but any of the teams. And um, you just hate to see it, because I do feel like it's beginning to affect the game, along with all the other external factors of, NIL and transfer portal. There was a question, speaking of NIL, there was a couple of questions about a particular play when Jalen threw that third pick. I think it was the last one that he threw. And he kind of really didn't try to tackle the guy who caught it and was ready to run into the end zone for that pick six. Pick six. He kind of just half slid at him and didn't get him. And many people said that that was a business decision. Listen. I, yeah, yeah, no. No. I don't like that. I don't like even to think that, about him in particular, but I definitely don't like that across the board where players are making business decisions, as to where they opt out of bowl games, to prepare for the draft. And they do not give their all out on the field. Win, lose, or draw. You have to give your all. You should want to finish better than you started at any and everything. So I don't like that at all. I do believe that NIL is contributing to that, because these players, they do have a lot financially on the line. But to me, it speaks to your character. It speaks to you as a player with how you decide, you're not going to give it your all for your team on the field. And I'm not saying that's what Jalen did at all. I mean, he looked like he dove for him to me. But Coach KDB said today in the presser that it's not something they practice a whole lot. Now, Jay Millie is an athlete. He's a top athlete. He knows how to do it all. But do they practice tackling? Does QB1 practice tackling in practice? That's just dumb. Why would he? So anyway, there are a lot of things that are happening, but shout out to UGA for making the SEC championship game. That should be a good one. Shout out to Billy Napier and Florida, and the Florida Gators, for the way they took down Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels in the swamp and made that a really good game. Kansas came in strong against Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs. Coach Prime in his post game presser talking about, the fact that he told his squad that they began smelling themselves a little bit. And I just love that he was that real with his squad. I just love that he is that real with this squad. Is he going to be at Colorado next year? Do you think Coach Prime will be at Colorado next year? Because I could think of several schools. I could think of the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL where he may want to go. But I could see, I don't know. Is he still gonna be after Shador goes pro? Is he going to still be in Colorado next year? Now he says he loves it. He has the view of a lifetime, and he says that he loves it, but it's interesting. I could see him at a lot of different places, and I can guarantee you he will get offers. But will he go? Um, let's see. That's about it. That's all I have today, y'all. It was a weekend. It took me a minute to want to get everything together to even speak well of the weekend because that was a tough one. But still a few weeks of football left before we get into the college football playoffs. Championship games will be fun. What happens with the loser of the SEC championship? It depends on who it is, I wonder. Because if Georgia beats Texas in the SEC championship, Texas will probably still get in. If Texas beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, should Georgia still get in? It's going to be interesting. Rivalry week. I'll wrap up with this. I mentioned our Iron Bowl, Texas and Texas A&M, LSU and OU. We beat LSU to the ground, so I would love to see LSU come back and beat Oklahoma. I would love to see that. Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I don't have a dog in that fight. Clemson and South Carolina. Because Clemson is probably 11, 12, 13 in the CFP rankings when it comes out tomorrow. They're going to be right there. I would love for South Carolina to knock off Clemson. And I 1000% think that they could because of Sellers and that squad and what they're doing there. Beamer has a nice team that he has developed there, that he has really, really taken under his wing, and he just has built that team. He has really built and developed that team. I think South Carolina can beat Clemson. I'm not sure where that game is being played, but I think they can beat Clemson. And I'll just say this to UGA. Just look out for Georgia Tech. That's all I'm saying. Don't overlook Georgia Tech because you're thinking about the SEC championship game. Georgia Tech has two quarterbacks. They run that RPO, and they are something serious. And I will not put it past Tech to pull one on over UGA. So it's going to be another great week of football. Listen, you guys enjoy your loved ones. Enjoy Monday Night Football tonight. Isn't the Ravens? I think it's the Ravens. How about my Cowboys winning big yesterday? Man, that was a good one. That was probably the best 4 minutes. The end of the game was probably the best 4 minutes I've seen in the NFL in a long time. That was a great win for my Cowboys. Yeah, one game at a time. One game at a time. But enjoy football this week. Enjoy your family. I have so much to be grateful for, as do you, from health to family to friendship to new opportunities to all of the new that's happening in this season. I am grateful. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for health and strength. I'm grateful for all of every blessing that the Lord has bestowed upon me and mine. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all stay winning as long as your team is not playing mine. Y'all stay free.